So let's see here. I'm just making sure everyone knows. Okay. Habaragani. Okay, people, we are in the processes of having some technical difficulties. And this is a part of the game. This is a part of the new life. This is a part of the 2020 uh, uh, uprising and pandemic. And, we're going to get through this. When we are together, we can win. When we know, despite all the many kinks, we are together, we can win because we're strong, because we're diligent, because we will come back with a resilience that they will never expect. We always have. Our ancestors have taught us that to be graceful, but to despite the intergenerational trauma, despite the post-traumatic slave syndrome, the DNA changes. Guess what? We still rise. We still rise. So bear with us. Bear with us as we get ready for the second part of Kwanzaa, which will not only be the drumming of Kele, as you had from yesterday. He graced us with some spirit ancestor drums, some rhythms that we need, but also we'll have Sensei Alex Kikuyo, and we'll also show you the Kwanzaa candle for this day. Please bear with us. Hi, family. All right. We are going to start over on our second part. Yes, in doing this today, we've had difficulties. Sure thing. I think the best part is that we have Kwanzaa as the center, as the foundation. And so we're going to show you um, myself. So I presume I'm on because it says that I'm on. It says, let me see if I stop the camera. Right now, we're going to go right to the drummer. I think if we get the drummer on, this is our second part, Habaragani. What is the news? Habaragani, Kuji Chakalia. So in self-determination, we are bringing in those that are self-determined. Why? Because we're going to come through despite the glitches, despite the fact this is the second video. And what we're going to show you with Kele, we've put in here the PayPal for him. Support this self-determined drummer who has been in the community working with children, working with organizations that help healing, working with different organizations that are trying to do alliances. And so with no further ado, from the Bay Area, I hope Kele is ready. And following him, we're going to have Sensei Alex Kakuyu. And there was an echo and a visual. Hopefully it stopped. But now we're going to have those two. And then you'll see me after Kele and the drums, after the sensei and his meditation. You'll see me at the Kwanzaa table. Thank you. Asante sana.
Hello, this is Kelly Nitoto. My organization is called Oakland Hand Drums, and I will be. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? All right. So I will be doing Woyaya and from Osibisa, and doing a song called "Walk in the Spirit" from Maggie Wheeler. Just kind of mixing all that in there. So let's get started. Yeah, yeah, hey. I can't hear myself through the speakers. Hold on. Oh, there you go. A little bit. A little bit. Hello, hello. walk in the light. We walk in the darkest hours of night. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. I walk on my neighbors to fight the good fight. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. Oh, I walk with the power of healing insight. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with. Ha! Hey. Walk in the spirit, I walk in the night. I walk with the knowledge that will be alright. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. Oh, I walk, hey, hey. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. Whoa, I walk for the children and the right to survive. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right. I walk with me, to walk with me. I walk with the spirit, I walk in the light. Whoa, I walk with the power of healing insight. And I call on my ancestors, left and my right, to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. Oh, I walk with the chest. Where? I walk with the, I walk for, yeah, I walk for the water, cause water is life. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. You know, I walk in the spirit, I walk in the light. Whoa, I walk with the knowledge that we gon' be alright. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, walk with me. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk to my left and my right to walk with me. I shall. Thank you very much.
Ashe.
You gotta turn off your speakers when you have the mic on.
Ashe. This is Kwanzaa. Ashe. I'm so grateful. Ashe. No matter what comes through, we are resilient. We are powerful beyond compare. Let us say Ashe to Brother Kele. Everyone say Ashe. 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 Oh, thank you. My heart is so full. I got into the beat and I was trying to send everybody the new part 2 link. Please find the new link now on our Parable of the Sower Intentional Community Facebook page. Find it part 2. Also on our YouTube page. We will not, hey, we keep coming through. We may have been disconnected the first time, but as you can see, we're come through. And so now, without further ado, I want to present, now that we've had this healing and joyfulness of drums and feeling the beat, oh my gosh, the next part is grounding us. And I'm very excited to present this brother that's coming through next, Sensei Alex Kikuyo. I saw him, oh my gosh, at the gathering, and he did a presentation at the Spirit Rock, which is a meditation mindfulness place. This brother has something that every home needs right now. How do you all connect when you're frustrated to beyond compare, right? And you have the children running around, or you don't have your stimulus check, or you don't have your food, and you don't know who to reach out to, and you may even be isolated. You have you. How do you connect with you to allow your nerves to calm down, to let the higher power of this world to say you gonna be okay? I'm gonna let Alex connect you on that. His book, Perfectly Ordinary Buddhist Teaching for Everyday Life, is a blessing to me. Gosh, it's a Zawadi gift I need to pass out. So without further ado, I'm going to have you all greet him in this way. Bowed heads. Sensei, a Black man empowered to teach us how to find a Buddhist way, an African-centered way because of who we are. This practice is perfectly ordinary. Thank you for coming. Metta and Habari Ghani, here's self-determination for you. Okay. Okay. We're going to have a short break. I'm going to have the Kwanzaa table to be uplifted. We somehow have been, I think our speaker now has been kicked out. Um, hey, this is happening, right? That's okay. So give us a second I don't know who's in the waiting room. We're going to have, I think, right now, one of our musicians, because we have a music director, to come through while we find the meditation practitioner, Alex Kakuyu. One moment, please. Hi, welcome.
Welcome.
Um,
Thank you.
we're so glad to have you. I'm not going to have any further ado. I'm just going to give this over to you. As you know, in mindfulness, we have kinks. We thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful. So, thank you, Sensei.
Absolutely. So, first off, deep bows and honor to Sister Elena for inviting me to be part of this celebration. It's lovely to be here. This is very important. And I think the tone of today's message, self-determination, is also very important. As a Buddhist minister, Buddhism has taught me how to do exactly that, how to find and embody my own self-determination. And in multiple ways, in Buddhism, we are taught that we are enlightened beings, that we are essentially good at our core, and our job then through our practice is to manifest that enlightenment in daily life. And I think that's very important for us as we live in a society that often tells us exactly the opposite, that we are one political figure, one movement, one law being passed from having some sort of self-worth. It's important to move that locus of control from the outside to the inside and to know that our nature, our Buddha nature, is inherently good, and therefore we inherently have self-value and self-worth. So what I would like to do today, very briefly, I'll be reading an essay from my book, Perfectly Ordinary, Buddhist Teachings for Everyday Life. It's available on Amazon if you'd like to purchase a copy for yourself. And the focus of the book is integrating teachings and mindfulness in everyday life using real-world examples. So I'll read the essay, and I think you'll get a gist for why I'm reading it today, with self-determination being the topic, and then I'll lead a meditation, which will also teach us and instruct us on more of the same. And the title of this essay is Lessons from a Racist Buddha. People look at me strangely when I say racism doesn't bother me. They seem confused when I, a black man, shrug and continue about my business while they rant about the latest person caught wearing blackface, shouting the N-word, or accosting people of color for the simple crime of existing. Of course, I know the response they're expecting. They want me to throw things, to yell, and maybe even cry a little. They want me to act out in ways that will give them some catharsis, that will reinforce their goodness in being outraged on my behalf. But I don't do that. I don't do that because of a quote from James Baldwin, which states, "To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time." Baldwin was a fiction writer and social critic who rose to prominence during the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s. His book of essays, The Fire Next Time, was one of my favorite reads in college. And the documentary, I'm Not Your Negro, by Raoul Peck, gives terrific insight into the mind of this great American writer. I agree with Baldwin's assessment. To be the least bit conscious of racism in America is to fall victim to a deep, unending rage. We can't stop there. We can't let the conversation end with outrage. Rather, we must ask ourselves two questions. First, where does this rage come from? Second, what are we going to do about it? In my experience, the rage that Baldwin speaks of comes from a feeling of despair that manifests when the people and institutions we love don't love us back. I felt this despair many times in my life. I felt it when a girl I used to date told me I couldn't come to her birthday party because her old-fashioned grandma was going to be there and she didn't like black people. I felt it again when a woke activist who I considered a friend Started making jokes like, "Open your eyes, Alex. It's dark and we can't see you." Of course, these aren't the only incidents of racism that I've witnessed / experienced in my life. From the death of Heather Heyer at the hands of a white nationalist in Charlottesville, Virginia, to the slaying of Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Ohio. American history is littered with reasons for despair, going back to our country's founding. And if one isn't careful, that despair grows into the constant, all-encompassing rage that James Baldwin described. However, Buddhism is clear that anger, even when it's justified, is a poison. It tears us apart from the inside and does little to resolve the problem at hand. In fact, the 5th century Buddhist scholar Buddhaghosa spoke of anger by saying, "By doing this, you are like a man who wants to hit another and picks up a burning ember or excrement in his hand, and so burns himself or makes himself stink." And this is from his book, The Path to Purification. Frankly, I don't think covering myself in metaphorical excrement is a healthy response to racism. So while the despair, pain, and inevitable anger that comes from racism is justified, I've learned to let it go over the years. Instead, I use these incidents as a reminder that even though I love America for the food, clothing, and shelter that it has provided me over the years, there are certain things this country can't give me. If I want to be validated as a human being, one who isn't used as a Halloween costume, I'll have to look elsewhere for that. So that answers the question, where does rage come from? But we still need a decision on what to do about it. For me, Buddhism has been a saving grace in this regard. It's been the practice that has nourished me, sustained me, and protected my mental health in the face of one racist incident after another. It's done this by showing me that the true cause of racism is the illusion of a separate self, which comes from ignorance. So as long as ignorance exists in the world, racism will also exist. Oddly, I find comfort in this teaching. It keeps me from taking things so personally. Instead, I grimly accept the existence of racism in the same way that I accept icy roads in winter or sore back during meditation. I don't like it, but I must learn to live with it. In this way, the racist Buddhas that pop up every few weeks in the form of old college photos and chants of "Jews will not replace us" teach me equanimity, pushing me deeper into my practice. They remind me that lasting peace can't be found in the conventional world, so I must seek it out in the spiritual. It's there, on the cushion that I find the shining jewel of Dharma. 2,600 years of Buddhist tradition that has sustained practitioners in the face of unfathomable suffering. It helped the Tibetans when they came from their country by Chinese occupiers. It protected Dogen when the river near his monastery was filled with dismembered body parts. And it supports me in every moment that the world causes me to despair. Racism doesn't bother me because I have something that racism can never touch. I have the Dharma, and it will always hold me up, even when people let me down. Lesson: when samsara hurts, take refuge in the Dharma. Amitabha.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful to you, Sensei. If I can have a short dialogue with you, we have our last moments. We're going to do the candles. I think one of the things that you mentioned is learning to suffer, learning to deal with the suffering. Some people are out in the streets and others are worried. And the ones I know, if they're in the streets or home alone, isolated, you talked about going someplace. You talked about this book is answering questions and going to the Buddhist way. How can themselves, and I'm speaking a lot to a lot of elders and people that live by themselves, what are some ways, according to what you just said, would help them have ease about this time period during the pandemic, during the uprising, during the fact that they know people are dying in hospitals even? How do they get there, though? How can they find this peace like you?
Sure.
With all,
Well, I go into deeper depth on topics exactly like that in the book, but one very simple teaching that can be done by anyone at any time is something called meditative breathing. And the issue we're taught in Buddhism is that we're looking outside ourselves for happiness. And of course, the world is always changing, oftentimes letting us down. So during this time of the pandemic, when we're looking to the government for help and it's not there, when we're looking to various organizations for help and it's not there, we suffer quite a bit. So if we turn our focus inward through a practice like meditative breathing, that helps us have that sense of peace, that sense of ease. And it's a very simple technique. First off, what we want to do is ensure we're breathing in and out through our nose. The reason for that is it engages the parasympathetic nervous system. It helps us calm down, tells our body it's okay. Mind and body are connected. The second step is to focus on the feeling of our breathing. So the air moving in and out of our nostrils, the feeling of our chest expanding and contracting. And the third step is for every inhale, we push our belly button out ever so slightly. Not to the point where it's painful, but almost like we have a food belly from a big meal. And the reason for that is as we push out our belly button, it causes our diaphragm to drop into that empty space, and we get a good lung full of air. And again, that deep breathing tells our body we're safe and we're okay. And as we do that meditative breathing, breathing through the nose, extending the belly button with every inhale, focusing on the feeling of the breath, and then returning to those physical sensations each time our mind wanders, we have a greater sense of peace and a greater sense of ease, regardless of what's going on around us.
wow, that's wonderful. I think, oops, I don't know if that's if it's too loud. I think what I hear you mention this practice of mindfulness and the significance of Imam being on today, Imam Jamil. He's been in prison. And as a Buddhist that you are, and a Muslim that he is, in the way of his prayers every day, people wonder why he's not broken. And there's something to be said about being able to know, with him in the prison, that he can go to a place and not be broken. He has his breath. He is meditating in his way. He is able to sustain himself and to not just, when I think of the many Black men in prison, in the Black Panthers Party or, other ways, there's a lot of them that have went into Dharma or even practicing of meditation, or for them, some of it's religion. But I think also for those who don't, practice religion, just spirituality, that it's something to be said of how Imam is sustaining himself. When I hear of the words of people that watch him, that could be the prison guards or the other people. It reminds me also for those practitioners that are going into prisons to teach prisoners, right? I think there's a wonderful group in Marin City that's going in to teach prisoners how to deal in being with themselves. Because yes, there's always going to be a place that we need to do the work to change the world, right? Thich Nhat Hanh really loved what Martin Luther King did, because he said we have to put it in action, right? And so many of what has been said by so many monks, that we've put it in action. But there's also a place when Imam can't put into action right now. He's gone to himself. So I'm grateful that you're helping those that cannot be out in the streets, that those cannot be with their families, those that cannot um, maybe even have the money or the food. And honestly, for those in encampments, homeless encampments, the housing, they can take this lesson from you today, that we will get through the practice that you're talking about. Can you tell us how we can connect in with you, maybe through talks or a website, so we can put it in our chat and we can mention it to the people if they wanted to contact you?
Yes, absolutely. I love speaking with people and answering questions. So I make myself available in a number of ways. If you have a direct question where you want to just speak with me directly, I can be emailed at sameoldzen@gmail.com. Sameoldzen@gmail.com, all one word, and I promise I'll respond. Beyond that, I do have a blog where I post articles weekly on Buddhist practice using examples from my own life of how the teachings have helped me deal with various things. And that's at thesameoldzen.com. Again,
Say that again, I'm sorry.
sure, it's thesameoldzen.com, all one word.
.com. Got it.
And my YouTube channel, where I also post talks, is just Google my name, Alex Kakuyo, Kakuyo. Just look for it on YouTube, and I post talks there quite regularly as well. So
Beautiful. Okay, well, you all, you're not alone when we are in Kwanzaa, and we give you the resources to get by, to get through. There's a need, as you heard when he talked about how he deals with racism. There's a need for those of you that cannot leave your homes. Our heart goes out to you. And, maybe you don't have family, maybe you don't have loved ones, where you can find a space inside, a space within yourself. So please check the information I put right in here. His email is sameoldzen@gmail.com. His site is thesameoldzen.com. And his Facebook page is facebook.com Alex Kakuyu, ALEXKAKUO.
yes.
Yes. So on this, we thank you as we get ready to end pretty soon. If you can, I don't know, chant one meditation for us before we leave.
Yeah, I'd love to do a meditation. So
We'll have a couple minutes. So yeah.
all right, everyone, just take a comfortable posture is the first rule. Just make yourself comfortable. Pain in the body can be a distraction, so whether you're sitting on the floor cross-legged or in a chair. The key, however, is we want our backs to be as straight as possible. That way we can get a nice full breath. If you're comfortable, close the eyes and start by breathing in through the nose, that meditative breath we talked about earlier. In and out through the nose, extending the belly button on every inhale. And this will just be a brief 5-minute meditation. I'll keep time, so no need to worry about that. And really focus on the physical sensations of the chest expanding and contracting, the air moving in and out of the lungs. What does that feel like in your mind? What does the air taste like as it moves through your nose and down your throat? If your mind wanders, that's perfectly okay. That's part of the practice. Just notice and gently bring it back to the breath. And as we do this, we're going to visualize a light in the center of our chest. It will be your favorite color, whatever that is. And for every inhale, that light's going to get a little bit brighter. It's almost like you're charging it up every time you breathe. A little bit brighter and also just a little bit bigger. And again, if your mind wanders from the visualization, that's fine. Just gently notice. Restart with the breath. And once you're anchored there, restart with the visualization of a light of your favorite color in your chest. Now let's visualize a black cloud hanging over our head. And every time we breathe in, a little piece of that cloud comes into our body. It touches that light, and then it changes to our favorite color. So the light in our chest is green. The air comes into our chest as black. It changes to green, and then it goes out into the world as green. And actually, let's change the color of the cloud from black to gray. So it's a gray storm cloud over our head. We're breathing in gray light, and we're breathing out light. That's our favorite color. And as we do that, that gray cloud changes color until slowly but surely it matches the color in our chest. Okay, and now we're coming to the end of our meditation. So we're going to slowly take our focus away from the cloud, let that float away. We're just going to focus on that bright light in our chest. That's our favorite color. Breathing in, breathing out. That's very good. Now we'll take our focus away from that bright light. We'll let that fade away until we're just left with the physical sensation of our breathing. Breathing in and out, in and out. Wonderful. Now we're going to come back into the body. Maybe move our shoulders a little bit. Move our head back and forth. Slowly returning from our meditative state. And when we're ready and comfortable, we'll open our eyes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be said, thank you, about having rap and hip hop for a political prisoner, to the other end, which is sustaining that, to be mindful in the spirit of just being. So thank you for teaching us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Sensei. Next, we're going to just end with our Kwanzaa table. Please see the table, and as I go towards it to light this last candle, we'll be ending our program. Going out there now. Hello, everyone. Not sure if you can see me, but we are here at the Kwanzaa table. Let's see if we can get one of our cameras on. Maybe it's not that camera. So let's try a couple. And that's a good thing. Ah, beautiful. And so the first thing that we'll do is light the candle. And in lighting the candle, we give power to this day. Umoja Habari Gani. And the second day, which is Kuji Chakalia. And just as we did yesterday, we say our things here on the table, which is Mazoa, the Kikombe Cha Umoja, Unity Cup, and Makeka, which is the foundation map. All things beautiful. The Muhindi, we have an ear of corn because of the young person here in this house. And then our Zawadi gifts. And we thankful for those to give something that's educational, something that's made, all those things to represent that we are grateful of the Zawadi, of this opportunity. So while those candles are being lit, I'm going to go back and see if we can see. And if all is well. With our melody, we will end with our 7 Harambes. Harambe, 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 Harambe.